Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are joining from today. I apologize for the delay this morning. Just getting our Facebook Live up and running. All right. So thank you for coming in and joining us this morning. And if you have not joined the Mindfulness Moments before, I am Kate Landreth, and I am the education lead at Family Caregivers of BC. And I'm also a yoga and mindfulness teacher, and sharing these practices and self-care, especially for caregivers, is something that is very near and dear to my heart. So welcome in. I'll ask you to find a comfortable seated position. And so that could be in a chair like I'm sitting in this morning. It could be on your couch. It could be lying on the floor. It's taking a shape that your body can relax and be supported in for the next 5 to 10 minutes here together. So today's mindfulness practice is titled Just Breathe. And this mindfulness sessions and all our mindfulness sessions are intended to be a little bit of time for respite. So to connect back to your body and to your breath. And often when we get busy or things get stressful around us, we naturally go into our sympathetic nervous system. And that nervous system, or that part of our nervous system, is called the fight or flight response. So it's in those stressful times that we often forget the very things that we need to do to ensure that we're safe and healthy. If you're like me, when I get stressed, sometimes I'll forget to move my body, even though I know it helps me to balance my stress. Things like eating a balanced diet can kind of go out the window when we get stressed. And another thing that often changes is our breathing. So when we get stressed, we tend to breathe in our upper chest, and we totally forget about that lower belly breath. So why is it so important to breathe and to breathe deeply into that lower part of our belly and lungs? And you might have heard someone say to you, or maybe you've said it before, just breathe or take a deep breath. So what actually happens in the body when we breathe with intention and consciousness? So breathing, very simplistically, it starts to turn down that volume of the default mode network of the brain. So that sympathetic, that fight or flight, we're wired to have that. And instead, when we start to breathe, it starts to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest. So it starts to settle the body a bit. And breathing can bring down your cortisol levels, which are our stress hormones, and it helps to balance our blood sugar levels. And really, the aim is to start to bring our body into a more harmonious state. And so when we start to activate that breath, all of these things on a physical level start to happen. And then this is where this moment of mindfulness can be employed, where we can start to choose things that are in our best interests and are healthy for ourselves, healthy for our care recipient or the person that you're interacting with. So often when we're stressed, sometimes our reactions are quick and maybe not as thoughtful as we'd like. So taking that moment to breathe deeply for a few minutes, maybe even longer, or maybe it's just a few moments, really helps to bring down that stress level so that we can make choices that are best in alignment for safety and for connection and for the things that we know at a deeper level we really want. So the key to unlocking the benefits is using it when it matters the most. And we know that practice makes perfect. And when things are stressful or high stakes, sometimes it's not the best time to be a beginner and to start using this. So why we practice mindfulness and why we do some of these practices when we're feeling in a safe space, when there isn't high stakes, is so that when life gets challenging, as it will, we can grab this tool out of our toolbox to use. So this morning, we are going to start to strengthen the muscle of our breath. And really, there's no way that you can do it incorrectly. It's inherently yours. Your breath is with us until the very end of our life. And so it's very accessible. And the one thing that you will find is that when we start to breathe or get quiet, sometimes our mind gets chatty. And just know that this is completely normal. It's a part of training the mind, and it's part of training the body. And that if at any point it feels unsafe to you, or you feel like you just need to look around or move your body, again, you know what's best for you, and take that time to do what you need to do. But know that it's a practice, and sometimes it takes a bit of time to really ingrain or find those grooves and patterns that will help you to begin and sustain this practice. All right, so let's sit together and breathe. So take your feet onto the floor. You can uncross them and find your feet rooted. I recently had a good friend who's also a teacher of yoga and mindfulness say something about being somatic or in the body. And so when she finds that her mind feels a little unsteady or busy, she encourages her body to feel or to sense areas that feel safe. So grounding your feet is a really nice practice. It's like they're on the floor, they're steady, and then you can move up your legs or bring your hands to your lap and let your shoulders relax. And again, just finding safety in your body in the smallest, simplest ways. And then start to simply notice that you're breathing. In the first few cycles of breath, you might notice, or maybe more the top part of your chest and lungs. But when we start to turn our attention to the breath, there is this natural inclination to start to deepen. So if it feels right to you, just taking your breath a little deeper towards your belly, the lower part of your lungs. You might even move your shoulders or your head in a way that feels good. And even a few breaths out of your mouth, just to release anything that you're holding on to that you might not need to carry with you at this very moment in time. So together, we are going to complete 10 cycles of breath, and you're going to count. So inhale for 1, and then exhale for 1. Inhale for 2, and exhale for 2. And continuing on to the count of 10. And if your mind wanders or you forget what breath you are on, you're going to restart back at 1. So holding your attention the best you can here. And taking one or two more cycles of breath together. You might choose to bring your hands towards your belly and take a final breath here in through your nose and out through your nose. And if your eyes are closed, you can start to open them and coming back into the room and space that you're in by looking around, making contact with little parts of your room that maybe spark some joy, contentment. And so again, today's little lesson of the breath is just a very simplistic take on why it's important to breathe. But I think that the most important thing is feeling it in the body. So doing these practices on a regular basis so that they start to become more familiar, or there's something that we reach for a little bit more often than not. And so that when things get stressful or things are more high stakes, that we don't leave our body and we don't start to turn away. Instead, we start to tune in. And then we can make those decisions and reactions that will align with our health and our wellness and the health and wellness of our care recipient. So thank you for joining this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to tuning in with you for another mindfulness moment in October. Have a wonderful start to your fall.